Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gaming with me, Tony Mo, and we're here today finally talking about Frontier Defense, what it's like to play it, because I played a lot of it today. In fact, I played about 4 hours of it. I squatted up with Iniquity, Butterbar, and Jaredude, and we dove headfirst into the return of Frontier Defense. We started off on regular difficulty, so you're going to get easy and regular right from the get-go. In order to play Hard, Master, or Insane, you're actually going to have to level up the Titan of your choice to the required Aegis rank. So this is like the first part of the progression system within Frontier Defense, is that you can't just go into the hardest difficulties. It's really all about how the different Aegis ranks give you buffs, permanent buffs by the way. You don't actually equip them or anything like that. They're instantly applied to your Titan once you unlock them. That makes your Titan more valuable, right? So that says if I get Aegis rank 5, I can now play hard, and if I get like 11, I can play Master, and if I get 17, I can play Insane. They all have their own sort of checkpoint, right? You cannot decide, say you're playing with your friends and you play for 6 hours tonight. You're crazy. You guys just grind. You're like, we're going to beat Insane tonight. You get to hard difficulty. You've been playing for about 5 hours at that point, and you decide that your current team composition when it comes to Titans is it's nada. It's garbage. It's no good. It's no bueno. So you say, man, we shouldn't have ran those 2 Scorches, that Legion and that Ronin, because we just don't have enough DPS with the 2 Scorches. They're great on like Blackwater Canal, but we're really struggling on War Games. That was actually our situation today. Personally, I think we really struggled on War Games. We couldn't actually beat hard on War Games, but we beat it on Blackwater Canal with only 1 retry. Because Blackwater Canal is a very funnel map. You know, it has very tight corridors. It's easy for Scorch to use the firewall, to use his double shot and his canisters and just light everything up and keep dropping cores again and again and again. Even if you're running Nuke Eject like Jaredude was, you can, you know, cleave out entire groups of enemies. War Games was so much more open. We just needed more direct crit hit, you know, hit scan DPS. So if you decide that, you got to start over. You got to go back to regular mode with your friends if you play with them. Switch to Tone maybe I switch to Tone or I switch to North Star, and then you got to level them up all over again in order to get to that position where you can unlock hard mode once again, and then you can grind it hard mode to get Master and grind it Master to get Insane, trying to level up your Titan all the way through all those Aegis ranks. Again, the Aegis ranks, once you unlock them, they're instantly applied to your Titan. So they kind of flip-flop. The first Aegis rank for everyone is going to be specific to their Titan. For Scorch, you get to fire 2 shells out of your gun before you have to reload, and then you reload both of those shells. The second thing is a health boost, so everybody gets 1 additional bar of HP, and then it goes back to a Titan-specific upgrade, back to a generic upgrade, back to a Titan-specific upgrade, and I think you get the trend here. Again, you don't have to apply them. They're instantly unlocked once you hit the required Aegis rank. So that's the first part of progression within Frontier Defense, and it means that picking your team comp long-term, really important, guys. Like, initial pro tip. Really consider what your team comp is if you genuinely planned on playing with a group who's going to go all the way and try and go into Master difficulty. You're really going to want to think ahead about whether or not that's going to work for you. I'm not saying there is a perfect Titan composition. I'm just saying certain maps are inherently going to be harder than others depending on the Titans that you choose, so be smart about it. For us, it was like having the Ronin was great. To deal with the Mortar Titans, having Iniquity running Ronin, going to get behind enemy lines really quick, phase shift in there, do a bunch of damage, use his Overcore with his Highlander to shred down those Mortar guys. Fantastic. Tight corridors, we got 2 Scorches. Legion on the front line, hit scan all day long, we're good to go, right? But as soon as the map opened up, it was like, oh crap. So just something you really want to work on. If you're playing in regular and you start to realize that maybe you want to switch up the comp, I would recommend doing it then before you pour in the time. But I think for a lot of people, that's going to be a part of Frontier Defense that they enjoy, knowing that they can level up one Titan all the way, see how things perform, and then swap to a different Titan. Just something to consider, though. Now, Frontier Defense 2.0, as I'm going to call it for the rest of this discussion, has quite a few different features compared to the original Frontier Defense. The first one is the fact that you actually get cash as you make your way to the final and 5th round. That cash can be spent at the Armory. Now, the Armory also acts as your team reserve, so you can contribute or withdraw cash from that reserve. So say it's wave 4, you just wrap things up, and you guys really want to buy the Harvester Invulnerability. It gives you invulnerability on your Harvester for 5 seconds. Just 5 seconds, but that could be the key tool in allowing you to have victory, stopping that last nuke Titan from detonating on your Harvester and causing you to lose the match, causing you to have to use a retry, right? But everybody is pretty much out of cash. You're sitting on like 300, your teammate's sitting on 100. But one guy in your team has 1,500. He just needs a couple more $100. You can contribute to the team reserve. He can withdraw. Now he's got 800 cash. He can go ahead and actually buy that invulnerability buff for the Harvester. There's a bunch of other stuff going on in the armory. We've got a $100 weapon boost. It's amped weapons. You've got a battery that actually supercharges your Titan, basically gives them a shield, plus it also pulls them out of Doom State. Pretty useful if you're thinking about preserving your Titan before you go into that 5th and final wave. You actually have to unlock the Pilot Sentry by getting stuns or kills while using the arc mines, and then you also can unlock a thing called Nuke Rodeo. So if you rodeo 3 different Titans inside of Frontier Defense, you'll be able to take a nuclear battery and put it inside of an enemy Titan, causing them to nuke eject. Now, we only used that once. I think Butter used it, and initially we didn't think much of it, but the more I think on that strategy, there were several situations where there were a lot of enemy Titans grouped together. Had he been able to cloak and pop in there, plant that bomb and detonate, they would all have ended up dead. And could have saved us a lot of trouble, a lot of firepower, and a lot of time, and also a lot of potential damage on the shield of our Harvester. The arc mines themselves will stay up forever. You throw them down and they keep deploying little shock charges that slow enemy Titans, enemy Reapers. Really useful. We were using a lot of them. Like, we had entire trails of arc mines set up to slow the enemies as they crawled toward us. The same can be said for the sentries. Really great at cleaning up, specters and stalkers and grunts. They'll even focus on one of my favorite new enemy types, these flying drones. So these drones come in a couple different flavors. We've got the plasma drones, which will actually eat away at your shields and try and actually reach the Harvester to eat away at its shields. And then you've got cloak drones. So any Titan now on the battlefield, Tones, Legions, North Stars, Scorches, whoever you might go up against, whoever the IMC throws at you can now be cloaked. I'll tell you right now, there's nothing more terrifying than the very first time someone on your team kills a cloak drone that was flying right above your head, and a Scorch appears out of nowhere and executes you.
Oh man, oh, found one of the drones. Oh no, there's a, what the hell just killed me? Where did he even come from? He was close. How the hell is the freaking Scorch close?
Or smashes you to bits. It's terrifying. It's a super cool effect to kill a cloak drone and then to see an entire legion appear right before your eyes. One of the coolest additions they made for sure. And I think enemy types in general have been done really well in Frontier Defense 2.0. Now that we have all of these different Titans that exist in Titanfall 2, we don't just benefit as the player, I want to play Scorch, you want to play Legion, we also have to deal with these different enemy types. We have to deal with the Ions and the North Stars and the Tones and their particle walls. It adds a lot of diversity to the combat of Frontier Defense, and it's just an inherent quality of Titanfall 2, but it's a really great decision for Frontier Defense. It works out really well. On top of that, you're going to deal with super aggressive Reapers, hordes of spicy boys. I mean, ticks for days, ladies and gentlemen. And those Reapers, when we talk about hard mode, don't expect to kill them with your anti-Titan weapons. You're going to need to have your Titan up. They seriously soak up the damage. They jump around, they make noise, they're terrifying. All in all, I've personally found Frontier Defense to be a shockingly exciting, tense, and enjoyable experience that I really didn't expect it to. You guys know, if you were on my stream when Frontier Defense finally got revealed, I was super lukewarm about it. Like, you're not even going to boil a single strain of pasta in the next 24 hours. That's how lukewarm I was about Frontier Defense. But I came away so pleasantly surprised. And I think it just came down to the smallest details. Things like the armory and, planning your little strategies. Again, being able to pick the different Titans. The upgrades that you get with the Aegis system, making me want to go back again and again. Of course I want to level up my Scorch all the way. You think I don't want to shoot 3 shots out of my thermite launcher without reloading? Of course I do. You know what has to be my favorite addition to the roster of enemies that we have to now deal with, speaking of enemy diversity and how much it's added to the game? The Mortar Titans and the Mortar Spectre teams. So back when we did my little, hey, let's talk a little bit about what we'd like to see on Frontier Defense 2.0 discussion, I spoke a lot about the idea of forcing pilots and players to be mobile, forcing us to get away from the Harvester, requiring that at least one player or we developed some sort of a strategy for multiple players to leave the Harvester while the other players defended so they could hunt down an objective, deal with some sort of an issue that could cause us to lose the match. Well, that's exactly what these 2 Mortar types are like. So the Mortar Titans do an incredible amount of damage to the Harvester. They sit way out on the edge of the map. You got to get your North Star, you got to get your Ronin out there to hunt them down, and they're a big part of why Titan composition is so important. If you just got 4 Ogre Titans, man, Good luck getting out there before they do a ton of damage, and good luck getting back before you get wrecked by nuke titans. Now, the little Spectre mortar teams are probably my favorite. Usually you see these in the earlier waves. It's 4 Spectres. They set up on a rooftop or in the back of an alleyway somewhere where they're hard to reach. They throw up hard cover, and then they start launching mortar rounds at your freaking harvester. So even before you're looking towards the, final wave 4 and 5, you're running around keeping someone mobile with grapple or with stim, trying to find a way to deal with these things so they don't chunk away at the shield of your harvester before you even get to the big bad boys and the end of the wave and the end of, an actual match of Frontier Defense. Now, let's just talk a little bit more about some of the tips and strategies I touched on during this discussion. We'll sort of come full circle for you guys. Number 1, Titan team composition. I want to stress that once again. If you're really serious about going all the way to master difficulty and eventually insane difficulty, it's very important that you consider the Titans that each of the people within your Frontier Defense squad are going to be choosing for the long haul. Now, it's okay if you are fine with getting into hard or even master difficulty and having to start a Titan all the way over again, push them through their Aegis rank. But if you want to prepare yourself for the future, having variety, not running 2 Scorches, in my opinion, is probably a good decision to make. It really just didn't turn out good for us long term outside of the maps that really provide tight corridors for Scorch. Again, Blackwater Canal may have worked great, but we soon found out that War Games was incredibly difficult. And I can only imagine what Forward Base Kodai and what Homestead would have been like. I mean, Rise would probably be a good map, but I think Rise and Blackwater are probably the only 2 maps where that double score strategy would have paid off. And even then, we would have just been better off having a North Star or a Tone, again, to defend the Harvester with the Particle Wall, and just to be able to do more consistent crit damage on enemy Titans as they push towards the Harvester. Now, pilot tactical selection is something that I think a lot of people might overlook early on, but why not ask yourself when you pick a pilot tactical how that can be utilized within Frontier Defense to benefit you and your team. Now, everybody could just run stim, and maybe that works out just fine for you, but the way I started to look at it as we were pushing through the different difficulty levels and getting to hard mode and struggling and winning was how you could use maybe Cloak alongside of the Nuke Eject buff from the Armory to hunt down specific Titans to kill massive groups. Or maybe you just have a guy who runs Cloak so he has a better chance of actually moving in and removing batteries from key Titans. Maybe you got a high value Nuke Titan that is dangerously close to your Harvester. You can rip that battery out and get that kill, make them nuclear eject before they get close enough to do any damage. Maybe you got a guy running Stim or Grapple who's really good with mobility, who hunts down those damn Spectre mortar teams. And maybe you got somebody who just runs, Pulse Blade for additional awareness, or, AWOL to just do extra damage to Titans or to Sentry units and Grunts, so on and so forth as they make their way into the battle. Definitely a lot to consider there. I think, early on, just kind of do whatever you want, but I think experimentation, mixing and matching, making use of an AWOL pilot to buff your team's damage early on, and then using a Cloak guy to rip batteries out could be a really great strategy. I think that's where one of the most fun elements of Frontier Defense comes into play. It's really about that experimentation across the pilot side of things, not just with your tactical, different weapons, different ordnance, what works best for you, what lets you do the most amount of damage, what fits your playstyle, and where you're going to exist on the battlefield to support your team. You also want to be making sure that you're utilizing all of the items within the Armory. They all do have a genuinely different and effective use on the battlefield. Having pilot sentries up, 2 for each player maximum, once again, really helped us a lot. I mean, I had matches where the pilot sentries had like 50 kills. That's 50 units, 50 Grunts, Spectres, Reapers, drones, ticks, whatever, that didn't make it anywhere near our Harvester. And when it comes to those arc mines, they are incredible at slowing down enemy Titans. So if you've got a whole corridor of nuke Titans pushing towards your objective, you're trying to do damage on them, you're trying to get them weak and, actually kill them before they push your team, those arc mines were just, man, they were they were priceless. They were very useful. So again, experimentation is a big part of Frontier Defense. Don't get too caught up in just, I'll just use this, I'll just use that. Everything that we messed around with in our 5-hour play session, roughly, had some use somewhere. And I think long term, you're just going to see more people refining and mixing and matching the different strategies. And I cannot wait to see the very first time that someone beats Insane, someone beats Master difficulty, and seeing their Titan composition and the way that they did it and the tactics they used. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think Respawn at the end of the day has managed to create a Frontier Defense, a Tower Defense, a game mode within Frontier Defense that could potentially stand the test of time for people who like Tower Defense. I mean, I'm not typically a Tower Defense guy, And I can see myself, you know, bugging Iniquity and Jaredude and Butterbar and saying, guys, we're going to play this Friday because I really want to try and get to Master difficulty. I'm going to switch to Tone, though. Let's go back through Tone, or I'm going to switch to North Star. Let's go back. You know, if I'm thinking about playing the game a week from now, they probably did something right, and I think a lot of you guys are going to like it. So if you hadn't had the chance to check it out yet, I hope you make it home from work soon, because that's probably where you are if you're not playing this, and you can get on that wonderful Frontier Defense grind, start experimenting and having a good time. Feel free to let me know some of your personal strategies if you've discovered or experienced any of them. Again, that was just really what we discovered as we made our way through our first attempts inside of hard mode, so on and so forth. Any other questions, any other thoughts? Feel free to throw them down there as well. So much more coverage for this DLC coming over the next few days, guys. Obviously, we got everything that's changed inside of PvP, aim assist, and SMG modification, and the G2 nerf, and Scorch buff. We're going to be looking at all of that throughout the course of the week, so stay tuned for so much more Titanfall 2 content. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, remember to play smart, remember to play to challenge yourself, but most importantly, remember to play for fun.